And I want to see how you're going to feel about this. If this upsets you, good, because it should. This is something I wrote a couple days ago.
Came across this little segment last night from the Patrick Bet David podcast, and I couldn't help but actually watch it and say to myself, you know what? He's 100% correct, as you guys are about to see here in a second. And of course, there's actually more to it than just exactly the next minute that you're about to see. But I want to say this before we go any further. I did a video a couple of days ago about an incident that occurred in Spokane, Washington. Now, the incident was some kids driving some bikes over a pride mural. Doing that in the state of Washington now, according to the governor of the state of Washington, because he actually changed the law, Governor Jay Inslee, that is now a felony, punishable by law. And of course, I gave you guys my opinion on that, and I felt that that was a little bit too far. And quite frankly, some things have happened since then. Now, one of these that I'm showing you is an incident that occurred in Huntington, West Virginia. However, another incident actually occurred, and that incident that occurred was practically a repeat that literally happened just a couple of days ago, once again in Spokane, Washington.
The Pride crosswalk was also set on fire in March. That's crazy. I'm not a fan of that, sorry. The infamous Spokane LGBTQ Pride crosswalk was vandalized again on Tuesday, this time with paint. The new incident occurred less than a week after three teenagers were charged with felonies for riding scooters over the Pride crosswalk. We know that. On Tuesday morning, officials discovered yellow and white paint splashed on the crosswalk after the city worked to have it repainted over the weekend ahead of Spokane's annual.
Is this type of nonsense going to stop? Is it going to continue? And that right there being the rampant wokeness. Now, let me go ahead and say this really quick about rampant wokeness. At first, it looked like it was an agenda. It looked like it was an ideology. And of course, it still very, very much is, as you guys will see in this video here. However, you do see Hollywood take advantage of it and put it in movies and put it in films. And then when you actually look into what's actually really and truly going on, you find out that a lot of the franchises that people love, a la the Terminator, a la Star Wars, you find out that these franchises are getting ruined by this idea of wokeness, which in reality is really kind of a mask for just good old-fashioned crappy writing. But then again, at the same time, though, it's still crappy writing. Look at what the hell is going on with the Acolyte at this moment in time, a topic that I've not covered in a while, which of course is pop culture, which I probably will cover some more of that over the course of the summer, because over the course of summer, I happen to, guess what, consume a little bit more pop culture content. The point is this right here. When people talk about get woke, go broke, in reality, it's really get broke, then go woke, because people are obviously out of ideas. Still, at the exact same time, it pretty much affects everything. It affects every single bottom line. And when you see the country itself, or you see the federal government itself actually try to implement this and try to play to such a very, very small audience, it then begins to become a bit of a concern. Let's watch some more of this.
First, International Transgender Day of Visibility, April 6th. Asexuality Day, first celebrated in 2021, April 26th.
So if you have no clue, April 6th is your day.
Yeah.
What happened, Tom?
I said, so if you have no clue, April 6th is your day.
So
International Lesbian Visibility Day. May 17th, International Day Against Homophobia, Biphobia, and Transphobia. May 19th, a Gender Pride Day. May 22nd, Harvey Milk Day. May 24th, Pansexual and Panromantic Visibility Day. What the hell does that mean? June, Pride Month, entire month. July 6th, Omnisexual Visibility Day. July 11th through the 17th, specifically 1 week, Non-Binary Awareness Week. July 14th, International Non-Binary Day. July 16th, International Drag Day. August 14th, Gay Uncle Day. Verify this if you think it's a joke.
Gay uncle.
September 16th through the 22nd, Bisexual Awareness Week. September 23rd, Bisexual Visibility.
Now, I have to briefly interject while you guys are still seeing it here on the screen, because I figured it would go for about a minute, but obviously this situation would continue, and as you guys can obviously see, there's pretty much every single day on the calendar, at least half the year, I think he said 140 days to be exact, where this type of nonsense is in fact being touted.
Trans Awareness Week, November 20th, Transgender Day of Remembrance. Are you tired yet? December 8th, Pansexual Pride Day. Folks, it's only June. We still have to go through these days for the rest of the year. 145, roughly, out of 365 days dedicated to LGBTQ. That's 39.7% of the year. Why? How did this make any sense? Meanwhile, we took God out from school. We took prayer out of school. We stopped saying the Pledge of Allegiance in school because that's offensive. Seriously, who's better for a healthy society? Promoting LGBTQ or marriage? Pro-family unit, husband and wives, if this is controversial, America has lost its mind. If the agenda is not to procreate, pushing LGBTQ agenda suppresses that. Gay men cannot procreate, folks. Lesbian couple cannot.
And what was the counter from the one left-leaning individual on the panel?
Yeah, there's corrections and there's overcorrections. Okay, cool. You know, after the Harvey Milk, everything that was going on in the gay activist movement, you know, I think it was Obama that made gay marriage legal, right? I think during his first term, he actually did not want to do that. In his second term,
Obama didn't do it. It was a John Roberts decision, which
Thanks, Tom. Under the Obama administration. Thanks, Tom.
But it was Supreme Court under Obama that it happened.
Sure, correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
But the point is, it's reached the point of peak overcorrection where it should, sure, have a gay holiday, sure, have a gay pride month.
Yeah.
Every single day. Now it's like boom, 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 boom. Enough's enough.
You know what's crazy?
Pandora's box and gay marriage is another topic for a later date. Trust me, we will discuss that at a later date, but I want to keep it for the most part focused in on the actual agenda. Now, I don't want to criticize Adam too much, but he's really not lying. It's gotten to the point to where left-leaning individuals, or at least most people who work in those circles, don't really and truly care about this. However, there is another conversation to be had about this year's election and exactly what's going to happen a little bit later on this year. The point is this right here. We've gotten to a point to where it, quite frankly, is way too daggone much. It's pretty daggone overwhelming, and you got to ask yourself a question: what will people eventually do? So let's go back in time really quick, because we are going to eventually get back to the beanie guy here in a second, because there was something to expand on with that. There was a video that was made, and I want to say it was a Razor Force offensive that Razor Fist released a long time ago, talking about the fact that the left, and if he ended on a bit of a rant like Razor Fist normally does. I mean, we love Razor Fist. No criticism there or anything, except, of course, his take on the Kennedy assassination. But still, the point is this right here. The thing that he had stated was that at some point in time, people were just going to just stop caring. And they're just going to say, look, you know, if you keep trying to enforce this crap, we're just going to say no and just not follow it. He wasn't lying about that. And I'll further explain that over the course of this video. But the point is this right here. Everybody in the world right now, or everybody on the right, or everybody in the center, and even some left-leaning individuals are starting to see that there is, in fact, an agenda that is enforced as actually being pushed upon them. Part of that agenda, of course, does involve actually overwhelming a person to the point to where, how do I say this, the person becomes dull to what's actually going on. They pretty much become desensitized to it, and they eventually accept it. It's trying to change the language of a said individual. It's trying to change the language of an entire group. And of course, this very more than likely will not occur. I'll be giving you guys another example of this on Saturday, because apparently there has been this recent vote involving the Baptist Church and female ministers. We'll get to that on Saturday. And of course, that's going to be also a bit of a replacement for the video they had planned. But you guys are kind of picking up on what's going on. They're trying to infect the entire culture with their actual agenda. The problem that these people don't seem to understand is that they are roughly only about maybe 4 or 5% of the population. And while you may see some numbers as high as 8, when you actually look into it and you actually look into the social media phenomenon, you find out that a lot of it is a grift. And of course, it's also a bit of a phase. It's really and truly an embarrassing phase and a really and truly embarrassing fad and a very embarrassing grift, but it's also a bit of a harmful one too. I'm not here to say that it's not harmful at all. I mean, just look at what they're trying to push on our children. Of course, speaking out on this topic eventually gets you in trouble, especially here online. But let's go back. Let's go back really quick to the example of people driving on pride murals in the street in an area like, say, Spokane, Washington. So I want to go back to the beanie guy just for a quick second. The reason why is so that way you guys can see that people, quite frankly, aren't really caring about what the hell these people think. And what I mean by these people thinking, I'm talking about a certain rainbow-clad community that, quite frankly, thinks that now that they've been given a slightly small bit of recognition, they've gone completely crazy with it, and obviously they've been emboldened.
I just want to stress this to these people who are painting this. You have two options: continually maintain the flag and repaint it every day because of this, or, well, I should say 3 options, I guess. I was going to say the other thing is leave the desecrated flag as is to be a symbol of the disdain people have for it. I accept either. You're going to come out every day and pay money because people clearly are upset. Again, I don't agree with vandalizing. You know, I don't think the kids were vandalizing, but someone who splashed paint on it, I don't agree if someone does it intentionally. That being said, if they stole taxpayer money and never got this approved, now you've got an interesting problem. Like they
I'll address the taxpayers angle here in a second, but bear with me. Now, if I have not said this in previous videos, I'm going to go ahead and say it one more time. The radical left and their protesters are allowed to deface war memorials. They are allowed to basically do anything they want without any form of repercussions. In the previous video that I did on this topic, of course, about the Pride mural in Spokane, Washington, these right here were teenagers. And of course, you eventually see this video that was released of boys continuing to drive bikes on. Of course, they were actually much, much younger than the ones that got charged with felonies. I mean, dude, a felony for vandalism, I think, is just a little bit too much, unless, of course, maybe it's something like, say, a actual honest-to-God memorial or real true statue. Say if it's a statue of, say, Civil War. And by the way, this Civil War general topic is not just, how do I say, to the Confederacy. It's also the Union, too. During the 2020 Black Lives Matter riots in the state of Wisconsin, the rioters actually defaced a monument. I think it was Hans Christian Haig, a Union soldier who actually fought on the side of the Union to abolish slavery. They also went after the 54th Massachusetts mural in Boston, which I've actually been to that mural, and I've actually seen that particular statue before. It's a very good statue. If you've ever seen the movie Glory, starring Matthew Broderick and Denzel Washington and Morgan Freeman, chances are you've probably seen that statue because it's displayed at the very end of the film. But that right there was the film commemorating, and the statue commemorating the 54th Massachusetts, an all-black regiment that fought the South during the Civil War. And me, of course, being a Southern, being very, very, Southern by the grace of God, I still respect good old-fashioned all aspects of military history and, of course, Civil War history, too. Different topic altogether, but the point is this right here. The situation that you are having at this moment in time is that you have people who really are just anti-America as a whole. A lot of these anti-Americans, they tend to get off. And of course, when they get off, it puts them in a situation to where they're not used to accountability. I've been saying right now that the biggest problem that America has, the biggest problem this nation has, is that we have a lot of unruly children that were raised by parents who did not know what to do and parents that, quite frankly, refused to punish them. And something else, too, to go on top of this and to kind of further prove exactly what's up with the unruly parents and the parents that don't want to hold their children together is that it's actually the parents' taxpayer dollars that are going to pay for stuff like this Pride mural. They're not only paying for the Pride mural, but they're also paying for the maintenance. At some point in time, you got to realize that you can't just keep giving your child what the hell they want when they get to a certain age. Most of the people who, by the way, are screaming and hollering for the mural to be repainted and be put right back up, guess how old they are? They're typically between the ages of 17 and 25. Basically big kids. At some point in time, you actually have to hold your child accountable. At some point in time, your child's got to grow up. That right there was what the hell is really and truly going on in this situation. And of course, there is the whole Marxism agenda, which we'll talk about here in a second. But the point is this right here. When people actually grow up, when people actually realize that for the most part, what's going on is that these people have just never been held accountable. And of course, if they actually start holding these people accountable, you probably will see a behavioral correction if you so actually hold these people accountable. That right there is what the hell is really and truly going on in the country itself, is that nobody's holding one another accountable, especially people who live in bigger cities, especially people who are on the left. Like I said, we'll get to the Marxism agenda a little bit later on in this video. But at the end of the day, if you hold people accountable and actually show them right from wrong, teach them right from wrong, guess what? The behavior will not be this bad. But let's continue. Once again, back to the taxpayer angle. The Beanie Man is not lying. He's actually 100% correct. If the taxpayer just simply said, to hell with this, I don't feel like having my taxpayer dollars go to pay for some mural that people get pissed off if somebody drives over, which for whatever reason, I mean, I don't understand what these people are complaining about. You put it right there on the road. You put it right there on the ground. You put it right there on the asphalt, so people, of course, are going to drive over it. And you put it in an area where kids normally frequent, but now you're telling children that they can't be children. And I just did talk about accountability and actually holding people accountable. But here's the thing, though, you have to start holding them accountable a little bit younger. Now, I'm not saying the kids are wrong or anything. I'm saying, what the hell do you expect? They're freaking kids. Okay, kids are going to be kids regardless of what you do. But of course, they end up learning, they end up growing. But still, at the same time, these little children, I don't think deserve to be put in prison or be forced to pay fines, heavy fines. And I don't think that their parents should be forced to pay heavy fines, as well as pay the taxpayer dollars for the maintenance of said mural. And at the exact same time, not just said mural, but also pay the taxes, of course, to the police, the fire, and everything else these people are already forced to pay. But then again, though, at the exact same time, these people did in fact vote for it. So I guess you could probably argue that it is kind of warranted that these people voted for these policies, and now these people are getting screwed as a result of it. The question is, does this entire situation spread? Does it spread further? Well, let's get back to the Patrick Bet David podcast, because Tom and Vinny, of course, they obviously bring up points that someone like, say, Adam, will obviously miss, because he really and truly, up until now, didn't start caring about this situation.
Agenda is. What the agenda is, and it's rooted all the way down. Here I go. Here comes a rabbit hole. Get ready, guys. We're jumping in. We go all the way down to Marxism, breaking the American family, breaking the unity of the American spirit and American society, and you just keep coming. That is their strategy here. Keep coming. So the reason all these additional days keep coming, and you saw how duplicative they were. International Pansexual Awareness Day, International Day of Week of Pansexual Visibility. I don't know what the difference between awareness and visibility are, but you see, they just keep coming, keep coming. This is the strategy, is to overwhelm the society with their agenda and where they want to take it. And this is how they're doing it.
Before I get to Vinny, I want to go ahead and say this, though. Tom is actually correct. The objective behind this entire situation is to overwhelm you. It kind of goes back to what I was saying at the beginning of the video. The idea is, of course, to actually overwhelm you to the point to where you just simply give up. The problem is that most people on the left don't seem to understand that they are American Marxists, they are American Nazis, that they are American communists. Meaning that they're not the same as German or Soviet communists, and they're not the same as Soviet or... Basically, what I'm saying is that due to the advent of technology, due to the advent of the fact that America, for the most part, is still very, very much an individualistic nation, I still argue that it is, it's going to be much, much harder to break through people's eyes, especially when they've been conditioned to actually look at what the hell is in front of them, which, of course, is exactly how you should operate. I'm not criticizing Americans for that there. If anything, I criticize people on the American left for being extremely smug and overestimating their own chances and underestimating at the exact same time the other side of the aisle. More often than not, the other side of the aisle will just simply look at these crazy people and just move the hell on as if to say nothing happened. If you really and truly want to take care of leftists, you just simply pat them on the head and keep walking off, because the vast majority of them are what? Insane. There was a study that was released, I think, by the Cato Institute, and there's also been several studies that have revealed that those who typically tend to be a little bit more liberal typically tend to have 1 to 2 multiple mental disorders. Do you think that maybe the current federal government is placating to people who have mental disorders? Do you think maybe that is what the hell's really truly going on, and that right there is the reason why it is that America's failing as a nation? I simply say cut them off. Okay, leave them to their own devices, stop having conversations with these loons, and move the hell on, because it's pretty daggone obvious these people are not going to change. Of course, some of them do change over time, but of course that right there takes life experience. The vast majority of these people are people who've just, quite frankly, been coddled, and they're not used to getting outside their own comfort zone. So what do? They get with more and more and more like-minded people who've not been outside their comfort zone, and that's kind of where they come up with these convoluted ideas, and then they try to thrust them upon the rest of the population. However, the problem is this right here. A good section of the population itself just won't stand for it. But let's continue.
And by the way, I thought it was a joke when you first started listing them. Like honestly, especially when you showed it to us. But here's a misconception. When you say when you put a tweet like that, Tom, and we know this, automatically the other side is like, oh, you have a phobia, you're scared, you're this. No. Especially with the pride parades, especially that happen in West Hollywood. What does you being butt naked, okay, sometimes, your ass out twerking in front of kids, just out, what does that have to do with being proud of being gay? Gay people have been through so much to get to where, like, now in society, you're equal, you're chill, you can do whatever the hell anybody else can do. Why do you have to sexualize it in the streets? And, like, what does that have to do with being gay? That's what I get so confused, because I'm like, okay, you're gay.
This groomer said we fully support this message.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, because
now, that little bit that you guys saw, that you heard right there, that little 10 seconds, that right there is when the situation becomes a hardcore concern. Because obviously, you don't want these people anywhere near your children if this right here is what they're trying to do. However, once you get politically involved, once you get politically active, and once you start getting laws passed, and once you stand up to it, after a while, these people eventually start doing stupid things, and they end up getting locked up. This crap that you saw with drag shows in front of kids and crap. It's the most embarrassing crap I've ever seen. And America's soul itself has been corrupted and corroded. And I have a bad feeling of something coming in the future. But I want to stay off that topic for now because of YouTube and exactly what's going on with the algorithm and especially what's going on with my channel itself. But let's continue. Correct. Nobody cares. There's no point in you going out and doing lewd sex acts. There's no point in you going out and celebrating to the entire world. There's no point in airing all this degeneracy out there. Now, granted, we don't want our kids exposed to this degeneracy. And of course, I've been calling out this massive degeneracy for a while. But at some point in time, the American mind has got to understand, or the American people have got to understand that these people are, in fact, mentally ill. And it's probably best to just stay the hell away from them. I remember a while back when Scott Adams got in trouble for talking about just a simple poll about race relations. And of course, you guys may remember that when he basically said, get the hell away from black people. I got to say it a certain way because of the YouTube algorithm. I'm not advocating or anything like that. Obviously, I'm from the South and I'm around people of color all the time. So obviously, I'm not in a situation that Scott Adams is. Not everybody is. And I understand people's situations. You might not be able to move or leave or do what it is that, quite frankly, you think that is probably best for your family at that time. I mean, I keep telling people to get the hell out of California, but I also know that there are people who, quite frankly, can't leave California. But then again, there are people who are also leaving at a record rate, so who the hell knows? The point is this right here. At some point in time, people are just going to walk away. And after a while, some people are going to look at this and say, look, I really and truly don't care. Stop trying to enforce it on me. And they're just not going to do exactly what the other side demands them to do. Let me give you guys some quick examples of what I mean before I close this video out. Have you guys ever heard the term struggle session? Struggle session is a topic that we're going to be talking about on this channel at a later date. YouTube algorithm is really beating me up. It typically does during the summer. Oftentimes, it doesn't notify subscribers of when the videos come out. And, of course, people can't get to them right away. But, of course, you don't want to delete your videos because, obviously, you need those videos up there. It is kind of embarrassing to have over 1,000 videos, only have like 1,000 subs. I'm not going to lie to you. But still, at the same time, though, just make sure you guys are still hitting the like button. The point is this right here, struggle session. They were used in China to great effect, but one of the biggest reasons why it was that struggle sessions worked in a place like China is because the society itself, the culture itself, was kind of already in the mode of shaming, and they already had certain traditions that kind of had people act a certain way, which was to respect the government, stuff like that. Well, here in the United States, you have people who view government as God, and then you have people who don't view government as God and actually don't respect government. That is what you have. America's much, much more diverse when it comes to thought. So at the end of the day, what the hell is going to end up happening is that people just eventually get tired of this nonsense and they just eventually walk away from it. Or when the wokeness comes to them in their face, people just ultimately don't back down. That right there's the whole point of these radical communists is to try to shame you. It's one of the biggest reasons why it is when you go to your social media account and you see somebody who's currently being canceled, when they don't bow to the mob, they typically tend to survive, whereas those who do bow to the mob typically tend to fall apart. The whole point behind it is if they can cancel you and get you to apologize, then at some point in time they know that they own you, that they have you. Not only do they own you, not only do they have you, but at the same time they also know that they can control you. These people get off on the apologies and never apologize to the mob. And let me go ahead and say one more thing to you guys before I end this video. If you're asking yourself a question, will common sense ever return? My belief is yes, it will. Because at some point in time, people just eventually get tired of this. People at some point in time just walk away. And that right there is what you are seeing at this moment in time. People are finally saying, no, I don't care what you call me. I don't care for your shaming tactics. You can call me a racist. You can call me a bigot. You can call me homophobic, all you want. But after a while, it's just not an effective tactic. And you got to ask yourself a question. When that tactic starts to fail, when that tactic eventually is seen to be no longer useful by that side of the aisle, what else do these people have? But you guys tell me what you think in the comment section. I would love to hear what you guys have got to say. Make sure you guys please hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, sign off in the comment section. Please share the video, and I'll see you guys later.